Hey guys, Jack here, solo homeschooling 3 children with heart. I just moved into a new house and I will be sleeping upstairs in the semi-converted attic, which frees up this 3rd bedroom to be our schoolroom. I've put a lot of thought and effort into sorting this room out, making it a good, beautiful, simple, functional schoolroom for 3 little chidlers. I'm going to give you a tour of it, but before I do, there are really only 3 things in this room. 3 important things for homeschooling. And I mean this, they are the only 3 things you need to give your children a better education than school. 3 things is some books, 10 books for a year of homeschooling 3 children. I mean it. 10 good books will do a absolutely perfect job for that. You also need a pen and paper, a journal and paper for each child, a journal and a pen for each child, and also a table that works, that's the right height for them, that's not uncomfortable for them, and a chair. That's it. Having said that, let's show you around. So, over here is the front, there's the door that comes in. So, we've got a big map. This is one, again, everything that's not paper, paper books and chairs, it's not necessary. But it is helpful to have a big map because I've made it this big so that we can physically move from one place to another. So we can get up on the chair and put our whole body over into Russia because we're sort of writing our geography into our bodies. But our abacus that my daughter uses for her maths, even for multiplication, for addition, for everything, she uses this abacus. We've got 2 big bookcases here. On the one side, they are. I'll show you closer, and I'll tell you the principles I use for choosing my books as well. But this is all read alouds, some of which my daughter does for my boys. My daughter's 7, my boys are 5 and 3, and some of them I read aloud. And this is the selection from which we grab and put over there into our current pile. So we've got a current bookcase and a sort of book list bookcase. And then over here are the books that these are all historical fiction. By having this in the front and center is that there's pleasure reading that's connected to and imaginative work that we can do that grows out of our core work that we're doing with history. This is our Bluetooth speaker that we put on music playlists, like Mozart study music is one of them, and Chopin's Nocturnes. Oh, I love that so much. That's such fantastic. I did a lot of my undergraduate studies to Chopin's Nocturnes. So we put it in the background, and it helps you relax. I think it just helps us relax. When you've got 3 kids, you want to be working hard, I think, to create an atmosphere that's helpful for learning rather than hindering it. And when we were in our previous house, we were in a dining room. There was the washing machine. It was dingy, and it made you feel like learning is dingy, if that makes any sense. Like your environment gets into your brain like that, like I was saying, with the building your brain according to your environment. Down here we've got mostly biographies, a lot of Christian missionary biographies. I should say, everything we have out here, like I said, everything we have visible we're using, which means that every book we've read goes elsewhere. So none of these we've read all the way through. We're either going to read these again, something that we want to read again, or it's something that we have not read. The other stuff goes into either the boys' room next door, my daughter's room, or downstairs where we've got mostly my books, but a lot of books that we've read together. that we're not going to read for the near future. And that means that we can have a kind of circulation, because we might go through some of those books again, bring it out into here. We haven't seen it for a long time, so it brings that spark back of it's like a new book. Daddy's reading to the kids. We've got The Case for Christ for kids. We've got the Ramayana, which is Indian tales. We've got Contenders for the Faith, which is like training boys up in righteousness. We've got Book of Imaginary Creatures. This is like historically important imaginary creatures. It's brilliant. My daughter, on her reading list to read to the boys, so we have, for example, this is an example of one that we've read before but is back on the list because it's so brilliant. I've read it to my daughter, but now my daughter is going to read it to the boys. And this is short chapters, short enough that my daughter can do it in one go. She's 7. And enough pictures where the boys will be interested. So that is this section. Here's another example. Story of Dusty, a little Ethiopian donkey. Man, I want to look at that. Anyway, and then we've got Ladybird books down here. You know, this old style Ladybird books? I looked up one of these. My mum collected it in charity shops. I looked up one of these on Amazon, and it was like £200 or something. So some of these are really rare. I didn't pay for any of these again. I'm not rich. My mum and dad just found them in charity shops. Right over here in the corner, we've got the clock that shows l'horloge. That's the French. We have the clock that shows the minutes and the hours. Makes it easier for like maybe 5 to 7-year-olds to figure it out. We've got a 3M hanger here, hook thing to put the headphones on. If there is something that you use more than daily, make it easy for yourself. Use this charger daily. So it goes up here to charge my headphones. It goes down here to charge her headphones. And then we've stuck this power cable, you can see this power cord, to the side using more, it was like double-sided sticky tape. Because we don't want it to be cluttering up the floor. In this blank wall, I've designed two posters that I want to go here and here. And one of them is a Charlotte Mason quote, obviously, that says, "I've got a prototype. Stay there." It was too big and it was printed. Self-education is the only possible education. The rest is mere veneer. So the light shines from the ceiling down here. If we found glass shelves and kind of cut slots for these glass shelves and managed to secure it to the wall without messing up the paint, then we could put our little specimens on there. And then it would be cool because everything would have a history. The birch log used to be the centerpiece of my daughter's bed. In the same site that we found this desk, I found this the birch logs were being given away, so we took some. One was used for my daughter's bed when I made that. I've got Vincent over here, who is a model skeleton, and so that's useful for this book, which is Mr. Tompkins Inside Himself. This is a fantastic living book which we've been going through, which the idea is there is a character called Mr. Tompkins who falls asleep in the waiting room. He's been learning all about science, and then he dreams that he goes inside of himself, gets injected into his bloodstream, for example, and gets a tour of all the things going on inside. It's fantastically written. It is so exciting, even for me. It's a bit above my 7-year-old's level, which means there are kind of 3 levels to our science at the moment. I read it, My daughter gets bits and bobs from it. And my daughter explains those bits and bobs using Vincent, our skeleton, to the kids. So I'll be like, I'll read, the hemoglobin does this, and the globin is the part that's red, and it's the protein bit, and so that protein is, that's why blood is red. And then she'll say, blood, my daughter will say what she kind of gleaned from it, which will be something like, blood gets pumped round to where it needs, and then it comes back, and she'll show it on the skeleton. And then the boys will talk about it with each other. So there's narration on each level. I read it, I kind of decode a little bit of the more technical language, that's my narration of it. This is what Charlotte Mason calls narration. My 7-year-old will narrate my narration, or narrate what she got from the book to the boys, and then the boys will narrate it to each other. Kind of 3 levels to it. But the basic principle is, you read from a living book. So this is probably a good time to explain what I mean by living books. This is the principle from Charlotte Mason that kind of helps you adjudicate which books you should be using. And I would say there are 3 criteria for a living book. Enduring significance, so they've continued to be an important book and a helpful book for people over the years. So usually it's not a new book, not usually more than a couple decades old. It has the facts and the information and the world of ideas that the author is talking about clearly and simply put forward, without faff, without any twaddle, she called it, and passionately written. So it's not a dry textbook, it's with heart. So those are the 3 things. So this is, Mr. Tompkins Inside Himself is a perfect example of that for science. We've also got our handicraft, which is sewing. The reason I've got a hand crank is the mechanism of how it actually works. It goes down and up, and it grabs the string from below, and it goes around that bit, and I want direct access to it. So with a new sewing machine, you can't see the inner workings of it. All you can see is you press the button, a bunch of stuff happens, and it goes and it does the thing. And you know, what is the thing that it does? I don't know. All I know is you just press that and move it. Bit of an exaggeration, but the thing with the hand crank is you can see and feel everything that's going on with it. So it takes a bit more of a learning curve, but you have direct access to the actual mechanism of it. So handicraft. Again, you don't need to buy an old Instagram trendy hand crank thing. I will admit that I saw it on Facebook Marketplace and thought, the first thing I thought was, that's beautiful. And then I did a post hoc rationalization of it with that I want direct access to it. But that still stands. And then, like I said, over here, these are the selection of books that we'll be choosing from, and then we put it over here when it's our current books. So we've got poetry and a biography and Bible over here that I will be reading aloud. There's several things that my daughter will be reading to herself or reading aloud to the boys, and then there's bigger, like once a week type stuff, like I Am a Seed That Grew the Tree, which is a nature poem for every day of the year, or My Place, which is a book about tracing the changes that happened in a town in Australia, or Adventures into Nature, which is another living book that I'll show you another time. And then there's a book that I'm studying for myself. Inside of here, this is a desk that I got from I found this desktop thing when I was volunteering at a abandoned nursery, and I just refurbished it slightly, just made some changes, put the string on so it doesn't fall over. I found birch logs too, just cut birch logs for the table legs, and then this was on Facebook Marketplace for £10. It's a little old chapel chair, which I had to sand down and oil and put some new screws in. This is the stuff that my daughter's using every day. So she has easy access to everything she's using every day. And there's an old school desk that we got as well. But then over here are the things that we are using either less often or they're ugly stuff inside this wardrobe. And in here we have another bookcase in a wardrobe. I know, it's weird. We have stuff that Daddy's using, book giveaways that I'm not doing every day, and quite rarely actually. These ugly folder things that display, this one's empty, but display their drawings and stuff. Not that their drawings are ugly, but they're not using every day, and it's not like a part of our school, it's an auxiliary part of our school thing. We've got the maths blocks, the Math-EC blocks. We've got craft drawers, and now this goes to, speaks to the other principle of this schoolroom, which is, yes, I want it to be beautiful. I also want everything to have its place. I don't want there's no free space in the schoolroom. There's no like, if you don't know what to do with that, you just put it on the table. Everything goes somewhere. If it doesn't go, if there's not a place, a designated place for it in the schoolroom, then it goes out of the schoolroom somewhere, and we put it in the hall or something, and we decide a place for it to go. So the reason for that is I don't want to spend any time clearing up. I know obviously nobody does, but when you're done with something, every one of my kids, all three of them, sounded like I had 1,000, even my 3-year-old knows where everything goes. If he's playing with something, he knows where to put it back. And I'm trying to create the habits where he will do that as soon as he's done playing with it, or as soon as he's done using it in the schoolroom, it goes straight back in the place that he knows where it goes, which is always accessible to him. So in the craft drawers we have little pictures, drawings, so that my 3-year-old knows where everything goes. In this next drawer we have, in this next part of the cupboard, we have, this will probably actually be used for wardrobe stuff, but then we've got artwork that I don't know where to put yet. This is from a 14th century German artist called Albrecht Dürer. I don't know how to say it. Which I don't know where I'm going to put in the schoolroom yet. We've got scrap paper. We've got a paper cutter, we've got tracing paper, we've got, and then we've got this letter drawer, which I'm going to make a drawer divider, or 3, to divide a system of letter making. This is a big part of our school. This is how my daughter learned to read, is through writing letters. So there's going to be, but it's very difficult to go like, okay, is this letter done? Oh, this letter needed an address, and so everything's going to be, empty letters, envelopes, and stamps, letters that are half written, letters that are written but don't have an envelope. There are letters that are written and have an envelope but they don't have an address yet. There's all going to be a system. All to remove faff. None of us want faff. It's not like I like simplicity and faff, whereas the kids want to be spending a lot of time hearing their dad tell them that they put stuff in the wrong place. So we've got these school desks, or rather we've got one school desk that was from Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, and it was £30, something like that, and it has this lift up thing. I shaved it all down with a sander, one of those drill bit things that you put on your drill, and took off the top layer of the whole thing because it was quite dirty and mucked up, and I washed it, and then I put a layer of olive oil on to bring out that natural gleam. And I guess it was used in like the 40s, wasn't it, this type of desk. But the two kids have been fighting over how much space they get on the table and stuff like that, so I thought it would be a cool idea, and this is your area, this is your thing, this is your stuff. This is your inkwell for the ink that we will one day have. The reading aloud area. And it's kind of a strange incongruity, I suppose, contrast between the old style wood and the new style IKEA-ish type stuff. It's not IKEA, but you know, we've got this overhanging, it's a floor lamp, but it goes over. Change one to lie down like this to read, but then I also wanted to sit up to do reading aloud, and then the boys were draping over, and it just worked really well. An olive tree. All of that just to show you the olive tree. Also Facebook Marketplace. But it should, I think it's going to give olives in the spring. So that would be. Finally, up here are some artwork that we got from a calendar that have the names right on top. But it's beautiful, I love it. And some of it's more kind of nature, it's on the side of nature study. That was my schoolroom, you guys.